President Trump's trouble with the truth is on full and sad display again this weekend. Whatever your politics, you should want the commander-in-chief to tell the truth when he gives a commencement address to Naval Academy cadets. Well, he didn't. Don't believe me? Take a look at the Twitter feed of Todd Harris in D.C. This is an analyst at the Washington National Security think tank, offers a detailed account, it's great to read, of how the president repeatedly twisted the facts in a speech to naval cadets. And then this yesterday, a presidential tweet attacking the New York Times for what the president called phony sources in a story about whether the Singapore summit could be revived and kept on schedule. The quote the president called phony was spoken in the White House briefing room by a senior Trump administration official who was introduced to a room full of reporters by a deputy White House press secretary. Here's the White House announcement that briefing would take place. And here's the transcript, including the quote the president says is phony and fabricated, right here on paper. Why? Why? Why?
Well, the president, I read The Art of the Deal, recently reread it just to get a better sense of this president, and he talks about the art of truthful hyperbole, going back to that speech that he gave, the commencement address, where he talked about...
Is that a fancy way of saying lying?
That's a fancy way of saying lying. He says that people want to hear that things are the biggest ever. So when he says that this is the first time that service members, troops have gotten a raise in 10 years, that's actually not true. They've gotten a raise every year. He wants to show that he's doing what other people haven't done, and he strays from the facts almost daily as he does that. He talks about how the past administration didn't do X, Y, Z. He gives himself credit for things that have happened before. It's just part of the showmanship of this president that he wants to sort of show that he's greater than he actually is.
But I'd also like to point to what the president apparently told Leslie Stahl when she asked about why he says things that aren't true about the media. And he says basically to just, long story short, to discredit you. So when you write bad stories about me, no one will believe you. So I think it's part art of the deal, and it's part knowing exactly what you're doing.
Right. And so if you're a Trump supporter and you're laughing at this, or you think we're exaggerating this, as I always say, you have one of these. Check these facts yourself. Go to the @Todd Harrison. He works at a think tank in Washington, D.C., just clearly lays out, this is to naval cadets. You think the commander-in-chief could tell the truth there. Then there's this phony New York Times. It's not phony at all. It's somebody paid, somebody works, who's loyal to Donald Trump, standing at the White House podium, trying to help the president out, explaining, here's our calculations for the summit. Here's why we could do it, trying to pull it off by June 12th. That would be hard now because of the delay. Why does he so have this need to attack? If he wants to attack, fine, but to just make stuff up in the attack.
I don't know exactly how this played out at the White House yesterday, but Jackie, right that he's attacking the media on purpose, clearly, and using the phrase the insult phrase for the New York Times in doing it, but he may well not have known that the White House had sent an official out to brief reporters. He should have known that before tweeting, but he may not have. I think it's important to note, too, that during that briefing, a reporter asked why this session couldn't be on the record. There was nothing secret. There was nothing at all sensitive that was being relayed. In fact, it was much of it was kind of logistical questions filling in around the Pompeo testimony and what the president himself had said earlier in the day. And the official's answer to why he couldn't be on the record is that the president has already spoken. Let's let the president's words stand. And then you have the president coming back and saying that the official and his words don't exist.
Don't exist. Don't exist. And the background trick is all administrations have tried that before. They don't want to step on the president's toes. I don't say I agree with it, but I get it. It's happened. But it wasn't a phony person, President. Works for you, right down the hall. But he does this all the time. Here's another one. Put pressure on Democrats to end the horrible law that separates children from their parents once they cross the border into the U.S. Catch and release, lottery and chain migration. He goes on and on and on. Now, previous laws enacted under other administrations, including Democrats, have separated children of immigrants, illegal immigrants, from their parents coming across the border. But this administration just enacted new policies that exacerbate the issue or that continue the issue. That's one. Here's the president talking on Fox News on Thursday about immigration. And again, we know why he wants to talk about the issue, but you could get your facts straight.
We've done a lot of work on the wall. We're doing a lot of work on security, generally speaking, security and border security. The border is down over 40%, and don't forget we have a great economy, probably the best economy the country's ever had. So people come across, but we're going to get the rest.
Not sure the point of reference. Happy for the White House to give it to me, and I'll sit here and say, here's what he meant. But the border's not down 40% right now. If you look at the most recent statistics, and the president has complained about these directly to his Homeland Security Secretary. Actually, they're up a little bit.
Yeah, it's perplexing on a number of fronts. First and foremost, on the separation of parents and their children. Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, has made clear that this was a deliberate effort to disincentivize people coming across the border. So if this is
let me stop to interrupt. Just one. If you don't want your child separated, then don't bring them across the border illegally.
Right.
Jeff Sessions, on the record.
And so if this is a policy designed to help bring border crossings down, which, as you noted, are up right now, they were very low last year, but cyclically they have gone back up again, then own it. I think, and the Attorney General has, and if you talk to Chief of Staff John Kelly, gave an interview talking about this. Homeland Security Department has been talking about this for a couple of weeks right now. If there's rationale behind it, and if you believe this is going to be helpful to you, then own it as the rest of your administration has leading up to this point. Don't blame past laws. And as you know, there are laws that you can quibble with that could have led to this point, but there's a very clear policy shift, which had been debated for months inside the administration. I think that's the perplexing thing right now. Same with the border crossings. I do keep going back to the commencement address, though, because there are strategic mistruths or lies or whatever you want to call it that you can tell why the president is doing it. On the idea of number of ships, which was way off in the timeline on it, on the pay raises, which was way off in the timeline of it. It's why. There were elements of the speech which were very good and borderline inspirational, and you would then sit there. It's ideal for a service academy commencement address, telling stories about past naval aviators or whatever. And why you cloud that with making statements that have no basis in fact, that don't help your administration in any way, shape, or form. It's not pushing forward an agenda item. It's not trying to shift a message that you're being attacked on. It was just saying things that weren't true. And by the way, the defense spending increase that they got in the $1.3 trillion spending deal was no small thing. Right. That was a huge deal. Sequestration was hollowing out the U.S. military. That was a big victory for the president. You can just focus on that. There are facts there that you can talk about. And why he goes in a different direction is just, I don't get it. And I don't think, to be frank, a lot of his supporters understand it.
In that case, the truth was actually his friend.
Yes.
He just chose to ignore it. Again.